So we think about the basic needs that we have. We think about food, shelter, health, things like this. But there's one that actually underlies all of these, and it's storytelling. Imagine you are in an apple orchard, and there are various types of trees. You don't know which apples are good. You don't know which ones are bad. How are you going to figure it out? There's really only two ways we learn things. One, direct experience. We try everything. We put our hand on the hot stove, right? The only other way we learn something is somebody tells us a story. Underlying every basic need we have is storytelling. It's why the business of storytelling pervades into every single industry and everything that we do. But sometimes we think about storytelling more as an art form. For example, literature, audio, video, gaming, art and movement. These are just some of the different ways that we tell stories. At Catalyst, our purpose, what we do, is we try to make it possible for people to make a living telling the stories that they want from where they like living. For example, we often think that art is an individual human experience. The painter in their room, the drawer drawing, the musician playing alone. But there's a specific type of storytelling that is collaborative. And that's the business that I've learned over the last 20 years where I come from, which is television and filmmaking. And in today's world, that has morphed beyond just TV and film into social media and making your own YouTube videos, right? Vlogging, things like this. But what most people don't know about our industry is just how large it really is. How many different types of people, how many different jobs are there on a professional TV and film set? Right? Actors, writers, directors, producers, cinematography, those are 5. There are almost 200 jobs on a movie set. When you go home tonight and you watch something on Netflix or Warner Brothers, Disney, wherever you watch all the credits. Look at all the different types of jobs. Look at all the different types of people that are within those jobs. Right? One of the largest companies in Albania is Castrati. Somewhere between 3, 4, maybe 5,000 employees. Okay? When HBO did Game of Thrones, there were over 3,000 people that worked on that single television series. Major television shows can be as large and employ as many people as some of the largest companies that exist in Albania. Now, not every television show and every movie needs to be this big. Right? What's been innovative in our industry over the last 20 years in particular, since the advent of internet, YouTube, and all these things, is us with a phone, 3 of us can go out and make something that garners millions of views. Right? We can do it for $500, $5,000. You don't need to spend $10 million making TV and movies anymore in order just to get attention. But both need to live simultaneously in our media ecosystem because we want both. We want the high quality, large production stories. We want the things that tell human stories on a global perspective, but we also want our local stories. We also want things that are personal to us. This is an example of the jobs chart on a film and TV production. Like I said, there's almost 200 different types of jobs. The pink part up top, those are your creative jobs, the ones we always think of, acting, writing, directing, producing. The ones in the middle, that blue section, those are all the crew. Those are your electricians, your carpenters, plumbers, caterers, drivers, seamstresses, people who handle animals, painters, construction, all the labor jobs that go into the behind-the-scenes making of what we watch on a daily basis. The part down below, that's all your post-production. That's your editing, your music, digital effects, visual effects, special effects, these types of things. Oh, there we go. How much money is behind this industry. Nearly $1 billion per week is spent producing major film and TV content around the world. $1 billion a week, about $50 billion a year. It employs hundreds of thousands of people who pay millions in taxes. And what's interesting about our industry is it's often been thought of as kind of a frivolous art form sometimes. I've done it, you've done it. We open up our TV at night, we go on Netflix, we start clicking through things. Yeah, I don't like that. Nah, no, that looks silly. I don't want to watch that. Yeah, you're clicking through thousands of people's jobs, tens of millions of dollars spent every time you do that, right? So the question becomes, if storytelling is such a major, important part of every industry, of every economy, of everything that we do, every part of our daily life, how do you build a storytelling community? Well, what's been fascinating over the last 20 years since the advent of the internet and YouTube and digital media is you don't need to live in Los Angeles, New York, London, or the major places anymore. You can live anywhere with access to storytelling equipment, and if you have the right trained people around you, you can tell and make any story you want, and you can distribute it globally. Think about that. Go back 20 years. If you had a story you wanted to tell, you had to raise millions of dollars, you had to fly to Los Angeles, you had to convince a whole bunch of people that your story was worth investing in, you had to make it, you had to find distributors, it had to be printed, it had to go around the world. All of those are gates. All of those are closed doors. Now, we could make one tonight, put it up online, and reach the world. It's incredibly powerful what's happened over the last couple of decades. And we've seen it be used for good, we've seen it be used for bad. But storytelling is what underlies all of it. So how do you actually build a community of storytellers? I'll give you an example. We've been around for about 20 years. About 7 years ago, we arrived in a community named Duluth, Minnesota. That's beautiful. This is Lake Superior. That's in the middle of America. It's up in Minnesota. This is what it looks like in the summer. It's gorgeous in the summer. It is equally as beautiful in the winter, but cold. It can get about minus 20, minus 30 sometimes in the winter in Duluth. But Duluth is located right in between Los Angeles and New York. So we arrived with 4 goals: educational development, training all of those jobs. New career opportunities for people who thought, I'd never be able to be in the film or TV industry before because I was born where I was born, or I live where I live. I can't afford to live in LA or New York. The rents are too expensive now, things like that. We wanted to increase the amount of productions that we're filming there. We wanted to have a positive local impact on business. This picture you see is myself, Speaker Melissa Hortman from Minnesota, and members of our team sitting in the HBO offices in Los Angeles many years ago discussing the creation of legal legislation to incentivize and support and fund the film industry there. When you enter a new market, regardless of the business you're in, you have to tell a story. Oftentimes people think of demographics in terms of age, gender, economic status, what your market is. There's really only 3 when you enter a market. The first group, these are your fellow visionaries. They understand what you want. They understand completely the product you're bringing into the market. In our case, we wanted to bring film and TV into a community that never thought it could do it before. There's a good group of people in any market you go to who are going to be instantly supportive of what you do. Those also exist here in Albania. Some of our partners here, Canastia, Vodafone, the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Culture, people like that have been instantly involved with everything that we are doing the moment they hear about it. Then you have the group that they just don't know. They've never thought that you could do this here before. They don't understand your product. They don't know what it is. They don't know who you are, right? That's the majority of the people that you're going to be telling your story to. And then you've got the problems. Then you have the people who absolutely hate anything new coming into their community. These people have emotional reasons, personal reasons for being against anything that's new, right? They are going to be your problem from the start. There is no changing that. But they're a very, very small percentage. Most people actually are open to new things. So, all right, what happens with that group in the middle? You've got the people who understand, you've got the people who will never. What happens to the don't knows? They kind of break down into three groups. As you tell your story, as your innovation gets out there, people start to know and they care about it. They support it. They buy the product. They show up to your events, whatever it is. Okay? There are people who are going to learn about what you're doing, and they're going to say, no, it's not for me. That's totally fine. And then there's always going to be the group of people who live under a rock and will never hear about what you do. Okay? Your story is what determines how these groups form. From a business perspective, you're fighting to take some of that don't know and turn it into know and care. The problem is, we can get so hung up on trying to change the never believers that we focus on that small group instead of focusing on the group of people in the middle who actually might be interested in what we're doing. Your story only goes so far, though. There's one huge caveat to this entire process, which is there are unique social dynamics that exist within that community before you've even arrived, before your product is even out there. So we have our four groups. Right? For the sake of ease, I'm going to put some fake names to this. But let's just say you've got groups of people in each of our categories. These people all know each other already. So maybe Richard, who's one of your best visionaries and immediate partners, has been longtime friends with Daniel, who is just an absolute cancerous part of the community. Right? As soon as they hear your story about your innovation, they're going to start talking with each other, and there's nothing you can do to control that. Maybe Ricky and Roger have worked together, Sarah and Andrew, right? All these different relationships that can form in the community between all the different groups that you are trying to tell your story to. Now, I circle Sam because the people who are about to come up in circles, these are the people actually profiting, making money, having their lives bettered by the thing that you're doing. There are going to be people in all of these groups who make money, who get jobs, who improve their life based on the work that you're doing. Some are going to be forever part of the team. Some never. Your visionaries and the cancers, they are what they are. You're fighting for those people in the middle. So at the end of it, you end up with two groups. Are your stories creating people that are giving to what you're doing? Or are they people who are taking away from what you're doing? Taking away can be tricky. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're stopping you, that they're outwardly saying no. It could be that they just totally ignore you. It could be a group of people who have the means and the capability to support what you're doing, but they choose not to. Had they done it, maybe you would be 20 years ahead of where you are because their support means so much to other people in the community, right? So you kind of end up with these two worlds. And the takers are typically based in this sort of natural protectionism, xenophobia, localism. You're not one of us. You're not from here. You're not like me. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if what you're doing is improving my own community. All that matters is my instinct about you was that you're an outsider, and therefore you're bad. You can't focus on that group of people. You have to, your innovation will only survive, your business will only survive if your story focuses on the people who actually are giving and creating a good feedback loop. So in Minnesota, our outcome, when we arrived 6 years ago, there was $0 in production. Now there's been over $10 million and there's hundreds of new jobs. Our mission completely succeeded, but the business stalled. The business just stalled out. That can happen in business sometimes. So let's get to the big question. Why are we in Albania? There are three fundamental forces at play in Albania right now. One is the emergence into adulthood of the first post-communist generation. This cannot be understated. This is driving everything that is happening here right now. Every building that's going up, every sidewalk that's being built, every industry that's coming into existence. The technological decentralization and economic changes of our industry, right? Like I said, 20 years ago, you couldn't do it on your own, now you can. But also, Albania has unlimited natural resources that are appealing to our industry. Good climate, locations, history, story, culture, talent pool. Why was the original film industry 100 years ago based in Los Angeles? Primarily because of the weather. You can shoot 350 days a year because it's sunny and it's nice. Right? Albania has all of these things. It just needs a catalyst to put them all together. And over the last couple of years, we've been proud to be part of that group that's been able to do that in conjunction with the people I mentioned. Now, there are groups, like I said, who are supporting us. We've already started to find the other groups who aren't supporting us, okay? And you're gonna have those everywhere you go. So the ultimate goal of this is not to focus on how do you constantly push your story into the new community. It's how do you create a sustaining cycle? How do you actually make it so that the community is benefiting and profiting as a whole? And that's what we call watering the tree, which is very simply, if you have a tree that's bearing fruit and you're eating the fruit, you have to water the tree, otherwise the tree dies. So don't be afraid to support good things, new things, right? Your business comes into the community, you're innovating, you're taking the risk, you're creating a positive impact for others. A small percentage of that positive impact has to go back into supporting whatever that new innovation is. Maybe it's a new piece of technology, maybe it's a new type of factory, who knows? In our world, it's TV and film education. But in the end, the innovation has to be mission-driven because there are so many fundamental forces at play that your story might hit against from the business side. So thank you very much. I hope that opened up a whole new world for you of what we're doing.